Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back here with another video, and this is the 7th episode, I believe, of the series where I teach you guys how to build everything you can with GraphQL from the beginning. So we've dealt with a lot of stuff, done a lot of things, and in the previous episode, I showed you guys how to integrate React as the front end of your app and how to make API queries to your GraphQL API. So we are able to just query by using the useQuery hook over here, as you can see, and just grab the data. But we can also fetch data on a basis of an event happening. So we use the useLazy query to make that happen. We have a function. When we call the function, we fetch data. So we focus mainly on fetching data and querying data, but what we're going to be doing in this tutorial is going over mutations, which are extremely important because they're the basis of a big part of a GraphQL project. If you recall, if we go to our type definitions, we do have some mutations over here. For example, we're able to create a user, we're able to update a user, and we're also able to delete a user. So what I want to do is I want to be able to call this mutation over here, create a user, and actually alter the data that we have. And when we take a look over here and we create a user, I want the user to also be listed down here as part of the data. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to come to wherever like we have our application, which will be in the display data over here. And I want to clean up this a bit because it's just like this was just for demonstrations in the previous episode, but I'm going to delete all of this. We're going to try to keep it simple. And what I want to do is I want to create over here at the top a button which is going to be called create user, and this will be used to create a user as you can imagine. And I'm going to create a div to wrap around both this button and also all the different inputs that we need to create a user. What do I mean by inputs? Well, if we take a look at the create user type, it takes in as an input the create user input. And the create user input takes in a name, a username, an age, and a nationality. So what we need to do is we need to take into account that to create a user, we need to ask the frontend to send information containing a name, a username, an age, and a nationality. So for that reason, we're going to come to our display data and we need to create some way so that the user who's like using the website determines what is going to be the name, what is going to be the age, the username, and the nationality. So how we're going to do that is through inputs, and I'm going to create an input for the name. All of them will be of type text, like this, and I'll put the placeholder over here. The placeholder will just say something like name, and I'm going to copy this, I think 3 more times, right? No, it's age, username, nationality. Is it that? Let me see. It's name, username, age, and nationality. So name, username, age, and then nationality. Age will not be of type text because an age is a number. It will be of type number. And this will be username. This will be age. Actually, age. Yeah, just age. And then nationality. So we have our 4 inputs over here, which is amazing, right? You can see that if we refresh our page, actually we don't even need to refresh our page. They already appear over here at the top. And how we actually make it so that whenever we write on these inputs, we get the values is by doing the following. Well, we've done this in the past with this state over here called movie search. We need to create a state that is going to hold in the values for the inputs that we listed up here. So how we do this is I'm going to copy this over here, and I'm going to create down over here. To make this seem organized, I'm going to kind of put some comments over here. So for this one, I'm going to put a comment, I don't know, create user states. And the first one that we need is a name and a set name. Then we're going to need also a username, an age, and a nationality. So let me just create 2 more. This is going to be username and set username. Then this one over here is going to be age, and age will be a number, so its initial value will be 0 instead of a string. And set age, like this. And then this will be nationality, and set nationality. So let me just put set nationality. And what we do is we basically just copy the same logic we wrote down here at the bottom, which is basically the logic for whenever something is written on the input. If there's any change to the input, we want to change the value of the state so that it represents the value in the input, meaning that whenever someone writes on one of the inputs that we created, it will update the state so that the value of the state is equal to whatever the input is. So to do that, we'll just change this to set name over here. Then this over here will be set username. Then this one will be set age, like this. And this one over here will be set nationality. There is a caveat for the set nationality, which is, if you recall, our nationalities in our GraphQL is all in caps ladder, as you can see over here. So the way we're gonna fix this is by coming to our front end over here, and when we have something like the nationality over here, we want to basically match the format of this nationality, like variable with how we define it in our GraphQL server. We can actually create an enum in the front end if we want to that matches exactly how our GraphQL enum works over here. However, what I want to do is we just know that no matter what happens, this just has to be uppercased. So I'm just going to come over here, and whatever they write, it doesn't matter if they write it with uppercase letters or lowercase letters, it's always going to uppercase by default by using the function to uppercase. So now when someone writes on this input over here, whatever they write will be translated and set to the nationality state as in all capital letters. So that's how we fix that issue. Now that we are actually saving all of the values of the input, and we have our button over here, what exactly do we do? Well, we need to do something similar to a query, which is we need to write some GQL in the front end to make that call. So what we want to do is I want to come over here and I want to create a create user mutation like this, set it equal to GQL, and similar to what we've been doing, I'm just gonna put the backticks over here, and inside of here we want to make a mutation call. So how do we make a mutation call? Well, we just say mutation over here, then we give it a name, and the name will be something like create user. Then we open and close parentheses, and we open and close curly braces, right? Now, the important thing here is we need to take into account that we're going to be passing an input over here. Now, the thing we need to take into account is that we need to pass some sort of input over here. But differently from the kind of inputs that we passed over here, it isn't actually just a variable that is a string. We actually created an input that we pass as the argument of our mutation. If you recall over here, we created the create user input, right? So what we do in this case is we just come over here, we create some sort of variable called, I don't know, let's call it just input to keep it simple, and set it equal to the same name that we passed in the backend so that it recognizes the type. And then instead of this, we want to again say that the mutation we want to call is for the field called create user, which is the field that we want inside of our mutation type. And then we set the input, which is the actual variable that this mutation takes in, equal to the variable that we pass as an argument to this mutation. So we say input like this. And then this over here should return a user, right? Because that's what we determined. And let's just grab the name of the user, maybe the ID as well. And let's test to see if this is working. So we created this mutation. Now, how do we actually use this inside of our React app? Well, I'm gonna come over here. I'm just gonna call, similar to the use query, we're gonna use another hook called the UseMutation hook. And this hook is extremely similar to the use query and to any other hook that we've used so far. You pass over here a function that, it returns a function that you will be using. So we can call this function create user, And we can also grab the data and everything that it returns, but for now let's just grab the function, and we pass the mutation or the query that we, like the GQL statement that we created up here inside of this, similar to the use query and the use lazy query. And the thing is, now that we did this like this, and what we do now is we just grab this function over here, we go to our button, which is this one over here, and we just pass an on click to it like this, and we call the function. But since we're going to need to pass some variables to this function, we need to create an anonymous function inside of here, and then call the create user function that we grabbed from the mutation. Then inside of here, we pass the variables, and the structure of the variables for create user is as we did in the backend, right? The first thing we need is an input. So we say input like this, and then for the input type, all we have is a name, which will become the name variable that we created. And since we are actually in objects in JavaScript, I think I mentioned this in the series, when you have two variables that are exactly the same name and they're a key and a value in an object, you don't really need to do it like this. You can just write their name and it's fine. Now we're also going to pass the username, the age, and the nationality. And this over here should technically work. So now that we've called this function over here, we have our button. Let's go to our server over here. I'm going to just refresh the page because sometimes while we're writing, it might give us errors. And then I'm going to come over here. Let me just create a fake person. Let me call it Paulo. Then the username will be, I don't know, I'm just going to write like random letters. And then what else? An age will be 21. And the nationality, let's make it something like, I don't know, Ukraine. And when you click create user, I want to be able to actually make the request. So I'm going to open up the network tab over here. And what should happen is a create user GraphQL request should appear as we click on the button. So when we click on it, you see it appears, but it gave us some error. The first error it gives us is it says input cannot get invalid input of value 21. So it's kind of annoying, but it's cool because it is good to show you guys how to debug, right? So let's for now by default not pass the age. Let's make it so that the age will always be 21. So maybe I'm thinking that maybe the issue is with the input over here and how it's being passed to our GraphQL server. I think maybe this might be a string when it's supposed to be a number. So let's try again. Let me try to submit it. It doesn't matter what we write over here because now it will always be sending 21. When I click on create user, it still gives us an error, but it says that the error is that it got an invalid value of Ukraine when it doesn't match the nationality like Enum. And the reason why it doesn't match the nationality Enum is because we didn't add Ukraine over here. So let's just do that real quick. Let's add Ukraine, save it, and let's refresh our page. Let me try again with Paulo. Try everything again. So you guys can understand how to debug this kind of errors, right? Age again doesn't matter. And let's try Ukraine again. So when I click create user, you should see that it works. It called a GraphQL endpoint over here, a post request, which in our response, it said that we just added them, the user, right? And what happens is when I close this, right now it doesn't show Paulo over here because it just doesn't show. We haven't refreshed our page. But when we refresh our page, it makes the request again, and now Paulo is over here, and you can see the nationality is Ukraine, which is awesome because now it means that we're actually making the mutation and it's actually working. Now, obviously, if you want to make it so that it will update automatically and you can just add stuff to the screen, there's many ways we can fix this. One way we can fix this is we can actually have in our use queries, when we make queries, we can have something called a refetch. So for example, over here we have query all users, right? And query all users is really cool because it will query our list of users. But the problem is when we add a new user, it won't add to the list. And what we might want to do is we might want to tell our use query hook to refetch the data and query more users when we add a new user to the list. So with this, we can grab a function from Apollo client called refetch. And now, if I come down here at the bottom, actually no, it's down here at the bottom in the button. After we call the create user, what we can do is we can just tell our our use query to refetch more data. And when it refetches the data, it should add the user automatically to our list. So let's make this work. I'm going to add someone else. So let's try putting someone called, I don't know, Felix. Then I don't know, Felix123. It's hard to come up with names. The age again will be 21, and I'm gonna fix the issue with the age in a bit, but right now it's defaulting to 21. And then nationality, let's just put Brazil like this, and let's hope it works. So right now there's no Felix down here at the bottom. The last one is Paulo, and then we have a list of names, of movie names, because we also did that. But when I click on create user, we should see that it refetched the data, and now we have Felix down here at the bottom. We can keep adding people, and it should keep going. I can add Felixes or whatever, just another user, different age, make it from Canada, and I'm click create user. The new user should be down here at the bottom. And this is good because it is refetching the data, it's getting more data, it is updating everything in our screen based on the new data in our GraphQL API. Okay, so as I told you guys, my guess was that it was the number, like, right, because this over here, for some reason, the input is being recognized as a text. I always get confused by that, and it should be a number. So right now, what we're getting is we're setting age to be equal to, for example, the number 34 instead of being the actual, like an actual number 34. So we just have to get this 34, which is currently a string, and convert it into a number by passing the number function like this. And we'll do this right when we pass age. So like down here at the bottom, instead of just passing age, we say age is equal to age, but we're going to convert it into a number like this. And if we save now, we come over here, we refresh our page, we try to create someone. Let's call this person Fraser. I'm just reading random names around my room. Then Fraser 456. The age will be 56, and the nationality will be, let's take a look at the nationality that we defined, India. Let's say Fraser's from India. And we create user. You should see that down at the bottom we have over here Fraser. The age is perfectly fine, and Fraser is from India, and it's working perfectly. Now we're able to add users, which is honestly amazing. It means that our mutations are working, and this is basically it for mutations, or in the front end. I definitely recommend using the refetch a lot instead of optimistic like rendering, instead of optimistically changing your states. And what I mean by that is the refetch over here, when you add something to the array, you just refetch the data, right? You add something to the database and you want to see it being displayed in your screen, just refetch it to see the new values instead of actually directly altering the state. Because if I just came over here and I added to our to this data over here, the not the movie data, what is the name of the data? I think it's just data, right? This over here. If I just added the new user to this array over here, it wouldn't be correct because maybe there was maybe some error occurred on the way. So we only are sure that the data is correct if we're refetching the data and getting the data from our API. So I would recommend using this a lot, and we're gonna go over a lot of stuff as well. I'm thinking maybe we have one or two more episodes left, and if you're watching all of this throughout just a single video, which I'm gonna post at the end of the series, just a little bit more, 1 more hour to this course, because honestly, when you get to this point, I feel like it is a lot better to do it on your own. I'm giving you guys a lot of the basics, a lot of the syntax, a lot of the like organization purpose. Actually, I didn't talk a lot about organization. My code is kind of unorganized for now, but I'll go over that at the end of the series. But I'm basically just going over a lot of the basic stuff, and you guys can use what you learned to do stuff on your own. For example, if you want to create a delete mutation, just copy this and post it again, and then change the mutation up here to be to represent the delete mutation that we created in our schema, right? The delete user. So you can try that out on your own, and I think that it will be a great practice for working with this project. And I'm excited for the next 1 or 2 episodes that we have left in the series. Now, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you enjoyed it, leave a like down below and comment what you want to see next. Subscribe because I'm posting 3 to 4 times a week, and I would massively appreciate if you guys could help support the channel. And yeah, that's basically it. Really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I see you guys next time.